I see you and you see me. Watch you blowing the lines when you're making a scene. Oh girl, you've got to know what my head overlooks. The senses will show. Private eyes, they're watching you. They see your every move. Private eyes, they're watching you. Private eyes, watching you.
Welcome to episode 8 of LMNOP, the podcast about the best show on television.
My
Elementary.
Hero Academia.
Why would you say that?
Because it is.
No, it's elementary.
Because this kid grows up in this world where 80% of everybody has superpowers and he doesn't, but he still wants to be the greatest hero ever. And you know what? He's going to do it. And he's inspirational. And I cry when I watch it, which is not unusual for most shows that I watch, but I really love him and he's really great. And
well, I grew up in a place with 80% superheroes too. You don't hear me talking about it all the time.
yeah, but you have plenty of quirks. He doesn't have any.
I'm going to take that as a compliment.
You should.
We are discussing...
Who are you?
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. I am...
Who am I? What are we doing?
We can't go through this again. I'm Val Flight Cub, a.k.a. Nightmare on ELM Street.
And I am your companion / housekeep, Alec, a.k.a. the Bomb.com.
It is kind of a .com bomb.
Mm-hmm. I almost said .net, because, you know, .com is kind of like old school and
But it rhymes.
lame, like a grid-based design.
Ugh. What are you, 45 or something? Do you think the .net is cool?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's weird when people are like, oh, I'm going to go on the World Wide Web. But if you're like, I'm going to go surf the net, people are like, that's one cool dude.
Wow. They're like, this guy knows what's happening.
Mm-hmm. This guy surfs.
This guy is in the know of the net.
He's in the gnome.
He's caught in the net.
And also, you don't want Bomb Dot Gov because
Yeah, that's just
the government.
Yeah. That's just 50% of the government's budget. Awkward. Anyway, this week we are talking about Season 1, Episode 8, The Long Fuse. So let's dive into it.
Let's do it.
Fingertips first, like when you do a swan dive. I was going to say head first, but you know, when you dive, it's fingers.
Mm-hmm. I like pencil diving, where you just toes first.
Ah, yeah.
Just go in straight as possible, make a tiny little splash.
I like when you dive and you have your arms at your sides and you're just like head first.
I like when you dive and you accidentally over-rotate and then you wind up slamming your back into the...
I love getting a wedgie from a pool.
Yeah, I like when you get wedgies too.
Ew! What were we talking about? Swimming, right?
Yeah.
Is this a podcast about swimming?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great.
Michael Phelps.
Is a swimmer.
Mm-hmm.
He's also a diver, right? Does he dive?
No. Well, I mean, he has to dive into the pool, but then he just swims.
You gotta get in there one way or another.
Imagine if Olympic swimmers did a cannonball and then started swimming. You're not allowed to dive. That's a different category.
Or they had to walk down the little ladder. They would get so good at walking down the ladder.
I'm just imagining taking different Olympic sports and combining them. Like imagine hurdlers, but as they go over each hurdle, they have to shot put.
Why would they shot put?
I don't know. You know, it's dangerous that way. It's more fun because as you jump, you throw the ball and you hope that you can outrun it.
Are you trying to catch it or not get hit by it?
Yeah.
Or it's like a shot put, but if you're far enough behind, it acts like a blue turtle shell.
Yes.
You know, because if you throw the head in somebody else.
It sounds like we're just combining hurdles and dodgeball now.
Yes, we are. If you can dodge a hurdle, you can dodge a ball. Aren't shot puts like iron balls?
Yeah, they're wicked heavy.
That sounds very dangerous.
Yeah, they're just like an insanely dense baseball.
Just bonk.
No helmets allowed.
Oh boy. Just like olden times.
Yeah.
Olden times?
Man, I miss the gladiator days.
Did they do the Olympics in like the 1500s? Because they did them in the negative 1000s.
Also, in the negative thousands, what did they call time? Because they weren't like, hey, it's 500 BC.
They did, yeah. They just didn't know what C was.
Just like, what's coming?
Yeah. They're like, wow, the year is 746 before Common Era.
It's like 1999, where everyone was freaked out about the turn of the millennium. Mm-hmm. People are just, for years,
are just like,
counting up to zero.
What is it?
What is it?
You know what? We should start doing that after 2020. We should go 2020, and then next year should be 2019, and just go back down. till we get to 0.
Yeah.
You know?
It would get confusing for historians because they're like, it was 1915 2.
Yeah. We'd have to put 2 at the end.
Yeah.
2019, 2. But we wouldn't repeat 2020.
No. Oh, God, no.
Because we don't need
Get
that.
2019 too.
Yeah. Not that we need 2019 again.
I'm looking forward to 2012 too.
The world will end.
Ooh.
Ooh. I would love to live to be 36. And then... No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I don't want to make it to 45.
Ugh.
Because then you become an antiquated dinosaur.
Ancient. That's a great segue to the beginning of the episode. So, the elementary episode that this podcast is ostensibly about. Yes. So, but no, it's not, because there's a scene before the thing we're referencing. So Sherlock is in the media room. He's playing his memory game that we saw in the pilot.
Yeah.
Where he's watching 7 TVs at once. And Joan comes in and it's like, hey, this isn't normal. You're weird. Most people, because he's like, the brain is a muscle, you gotta flex it every day. Constantly flexing.
She's like, why don't you just read a book?
Yeah. And he goes, I am reading a book. He points to a book that's open on the desk beside the...
Dude, I can barely play Animal Crossing and listen to music at the same time.
Yeah, I have to turn down the music on Animal Crossing so I don't get distracted. So she's like, okay, but I want to continue our conversation from yesterday.
Yeah, we need to talk.
We need to talk.
You need to pay attention to me. Mm-hmm. So Sherlock very graciously turns off one of the TVs.
Yeah, just one.
Just one.
So now he's watching 6 TVs, reading a book, and talking to Joan.
Yeah.
As opposed to 7 TVs, reading a book, and talking to Joan. Because that would be untenable.
Yeah. You can't do 9 things at once, Sherlock.
No.
Nobody can.
You can only do 8 things.
Well, octopi can.
Well, they only have one brain, though.
Right, but I can do 2 different things with my hands.
I can't do 2 different things with my 2 hands.
Well, I mean, I can I can flip you off and give you a thumbs up at the same time. I can send some really mixed messages. So, that's 3 things right there.
The mixed messages being their own thing.
And so an octopi can totally do 8 things and then do something with its mouth, and that's 9.
Its beak. Octopi have beaks.
Sorry. I didn't mean to offend your kind.
How dare you! We can give 4 hugs at once. Just kidding, I'm not an octopus.
Or 8 bro hugs.
Yeah, exactly. 8 Christian side hugs. So Joan is like, okay, we're going to have this conversation. So we got to get you a sponsor. This is what we were talking about yesterday. We got to get you a sponsor.
We already have calls from Audible, Casper Mattresses.
Squatty Potty is interested. That Sheets one.
My Fresh Apron.
Yeah. So Sherlock says the drugs I took seemed to light up my brain and made it so I could take over the world. And Joan is like, what? And Sherlock presses play and is it the Invisible Man or?
Yes, it is.
I don't know. It's just some guy wrapped up like a mummy.
Yeah. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen whatever movie it is that he's doing, but it's the same thing that he did in the pilot where he says something weird to Joan and she's like, what?
Yeah.
And then he presses
Except
play.
I think this time Joan kind of saw it coming.
Yeah.
She was less fooled.
Yeah. Of course.
She's learning.
She's gaining sentience. No. She's a human person.
I can't wait till she's a real person.
So Sherlock has this really grumpy little fine. If I can get a screenshot of it, I will, because it's really funny. I think I'm going to start adding emotes to our Discord, and I think that's one of the ones that I want to add.
Yeah,
just
grumpy Sherlock.
Yeah. But she's like, I have this great guy that will be a good sponsor for you, so get coffee with him, or I'm going to keep annoying you and mess up your memory game. Sherlock is like, ugh, fine.
Fine, Mom.
Ugh. So now we learn about the .com bomb. We go to this tech startup. It's very tech startup-y. There's open concept space. Everybody's got a table instead of a desk, and they're playing with their
ping pongs.
And yeah, exactly. There's a guy on the phone, and he's talking to a client, and the client is hesitant or something, and he talks to the other guy, and he's like, this guy doesn't understand web design. He's 45 or something, so what do you expect?
Old man.
Ugh.
He wants a grid-based design.
He's practically dead.
That's so old school.
Yeah.
What is he, a dinosaur?
And then they hear a beeping, and they're like, is that my phone? Is that your phone? It looks like it's coming from inside the vent. And they look inside the vent.
I liked the way he said, it's coming from inside the vent. It reminded me of, it's coming from inside the house.
Yeah. Which, if he had really felt the way that the people who say it's coming from inside the house had felt, he maybe wouldn't have been so close to the vent.
Yeah. No, he definitely wasn't worried. I mean, they weren't. They just look in the vent and they're like, oh, maintenance guy must have
dropped his phone in there.
You know, while the maintenance guy was crawling around the air vent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he's like, I'll call maintenance, and then boom, a bomb explodes. Because it was a bomb.
It was a bomb.
It was not a phone dropped by a crawling around maintenance guy. Because it turns out they actually don't do that.
No. They get their kids to do it, and kids don't have phones.
Right. Kids don't do that because labor laws make that illegal. Wink.
Right.
Not
kids don't do it. Wink.
Wink. Anyway, so of course Sherlock and Joan are called into this scene. This bomb killed 2 people, unfortunately, and there's spilled ketchup everywhere at this crime scene.
Well, yeah, the bomb went off right next to the fridge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But really, there's a lot of red. Anyway, so Sherlock is like, so Joan, I bet you won't miss this when you're gone from my life, because you're not going to be my sponsor for very much longer at all. Because
we only have a few more weeks left. Mm-hmm. So sorry if you've been enjoying this podcast, but it's over in a few weeks when Joan leaves as a sponsor.
Yeah.
Not a sponsor, it's a sober companion.
A sober companion, yeah. And Joan is like, you know what? No, I'm not going to miss it. And she's lying. They don't address it in the episode, and maybe she isn't lying in this moment, but we know. She's freaking lying.
We know she's a friggin' liar.
She likes it. She likes to be there.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe she doesn't like to see people dead and stuff, but is interesting.
Yeah.
So Sherlock finds some packing paper, which is used in some component of a bomb. Yeah. And he's like, professionals use this special bomb paper. Something, but this was using newspaper, so must be an amateur. And Captain is like, yeah, the bomb techs noticed that already. We're looking to see if anybody is missing any. And then he says, like, to see if anybody's had their chemicals stolen, like their bomb making chemicals stolen. But you and I both did think that
we're gonna find someone that's missing a bunch of newspaper.
Yeah.
Has anyone reported a bunch of newspaper missing?
Which they probably wouldn't even need a whole day's worth of newspaper to make a bomb. So wouldn't be a good avenue to go down.
Yeah, like, did anybody have their newspaper stolen off their doorstep?
Right.
In the last week.
Exactly. Anybody
should narrow it down.
in Manhattan. And the other thing that they find in the wreck, Sherlock finds a motherboard for a pager, which these guys, the guys that work at this tech startup, are little baby children. They're teens, bro. They would not use pagers. So
pager is what they call books.
Is that new slang that I don't know about?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, oh, dude, nah, I'm gonna watch TV. I don't got time for your lame pagers.
I'm gonna watch 6 TVs and read a pager. So they're like, this must be from the bomb. So Joan is like, okay, so we have to check whose pager this is from. And while they're running that down, let's go meet your new sponsor guy.
Yeah,
because his name is Adrian. So he works on the stock exchange, and Sherlock is like, wow, Joan, you really know me well. You didn't watch that episode it was 3 episodes ago, Joan, where I talked about how...
Not even that long ago.
Bankers are crooks. Yeah.
And she was like, no, he's a tattletale guy.
Yeah, he works with the SEC.
He keeps an eye on the bankers. Mm-hmm. And he went to London once, so you'll like that.
He went to the London School of Economics.
His friends call him Big Ben.
His middle name is Ben. And he has a huge dong, so... So Sherlock is like, all right, I have a test for you to pass, Adrian. If I called you in the middle of the night asking if I should take diphenhydramine to save myself from poisoning, what would you say? And Adrian is like, well, I would say you gotta take it one day at a time. And the most important thing is your sobriety, not to get down on yourself. Just remember to smile. Right. And I'm kind of dumb, so when I heard diphenhydramine, I was like, oh, this is going to turn out to be the scientific word for water. Yeah, I one time I got it under the sink and I drank some dihydrogen monoxide, and every day since I've had to drink more or I'll die. Exactly. So diphenhydramine is not that, but he's like, I would die from, I'm suffering from neuroleptic poisoning. Should I take diphenhydramine? And Adrian is like, well, if it would save your life, I guess, yeah. And Sherlock is like, oh, this interview is over. He just gets up and leaves. He just storms out, and he's like, Joan, can you believe this? He said I should take diphenhydramine just for some stinking neuroleptic poisoning. What's a brain Caesar?
Seizure.
Brain Caesar with chicken.
A brain Caesar is when you get stabbed in the brain.
Yeah, a lot of times. Yeah. Which is bad. You would die from that.
But not if you take water.
Diphenhydramine?
Dihydramine.
You're so good at remembering medical terms for someone who went to a medically adjacent course for a long time.
For several years, I was in the medical school of Quinnipiac University. So I was taking those occupational therapy classes. I know things. Neuro means brain.
Mm-hmm. And leptic means?
It rhymes with septic. Uh-huh. So, butt rhymes with butt. Brain mutt.
Brain mutt.
Brain mutt. When you have two different brains and you combine them together for one big brain.
Woof. Arf.
Bark, bark.
Bark, bark. We're geniuses. And so Joan is like, okay, that's clearly a fucking trick question, but whatever, we'll keep looking. Because what? If he had said, don't take the diphenhydramine, he'd be like, this sponsor doesn't even care about my life.
I'm gonna die?
He only cares about my sobriety. So the pager they tracked down didn't belong to anybody, or like was prepaid, so there wasn't anybody like paying a bill for it. But there was 3 calls placed to it within like a minute of it going off. And so they brought in the guy that called the pager.
Mm-hmm. And it's this guy that had done a stint in prison.
Mm-hmm.
He was a medical guy and he helped fix broken fingers.
Yeah.
He was really good at making stints.
Stints. Isn't that the thing you put in your heart? Or is that a stent?
I don't know. I meant splint, and I didn't realize it until I said it a couple times. Oh.
Hey, I was right there with you. So anyway, he put a stent in somebody's heart in prison, and the guy's like, I was trying to call a sandwich spot.
Sorry, it just sounds like he fell in love with somebody in prison. He put a stent in someone's heart.
Well, he did. So he's like, I was trying to call a sandwich shop to get some sandwiches. And the number of the pager is 555-5555. And the number of the sandwich shop is 555-5556. And so I must have just hit redial instead of calling it.
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to.
I just wanted my pizza. I wasn't trying to blow these guys into pizzas.
Pieces.
Pepperonis.
Into little pepperonis. I wasn't trying to blow them into little pepperonis.
Sorry, this is getting cheesy.
So Sherlock is like, well, okay, but to be a bomb maker, you have to be precise. And this guy's wristwatch is 9 minutes off, and his fly is 3/4 down. So, he's not buying it. He doesn't think it's this guy. And he calls the number, 555-5556, and it is a sandwich shop. So that part checks out, at least. So, they're still looking. So then Gregson talks to the bomb expert guys, with all the evidence from the crime scene. And Sherlock is like walking by and he's like, Yo, mind if
we're talking about stuff?
Excuse me? And just worms his way into the little evidence room. And Gregson is like, I only have a few minutes to talk to this bomb expert. And Sherlock is like, listen, here's my encyclopedic knowledge of this brand of battery. Because the battery that was used to power the bomb, the logo had a little oak tree added to it because it was a rising sun. And they added a little oak tree in front of the sun in 2008 for their centennial.
But the battery in the pictures of the bomb has no little oak tree.
So these batteries
are from a rising sun. So it's a 4-year-old battery.
Mm-hmm.
And why would you go through the trouble of making a bomb and then put a battery that might not even be fully charged in?
Yeah.
That seems silly.
Yeah.
Just go to the battery store and get a new battery.
They're not that expensive. You've already bought all the other bomb making stuff. So then he looks at the little newspaper scraps that were put in the bomb, and there's a picture of Obama in it. And he's like, haha, Obama. And they're like, yeah, he's the president. And he's like, this is a picture from when he was a senator. Remember when our president used to be like a senator before he was a president?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so he's like, this is Senator Obama. You can tell because he doesn't have all the white hair, the being a president.
Yeah. His hair's not gray and his eyes aren't dead. And
yeah. He doesn't look like he's just ordered a drone strike. So Joan is like, and I can make out a date on this piece of paper. And she points to a like perfectly preserved.
Very clearly says like October 28th, 2008.
Yeah. It's not smudged.
I can make it out too. I also have eyes.
Yeah. So they're like, okay, so they put old batteries and old newspaper in this bomb. No. The bomb is from 2008.
Oh, that makes more sense.
Mm-hmm. It does. But it also kind of doesn't. Because, what?
Why would you wait to set a bomb off for 4 years?
Yeah. So they're like, okay, so it must the intended target must have been whoever was in this office 4 years ago.
Oh, it's been sitting in the vent for 4 years.
Yes,
not just sitting in somebody's garage waiting to be put somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then who was in there 4 years ago?
Well, a company called Van Owen Communications.
Sounds dumb.
Well, it is. No, they're not dumb. They're just evil. They're a like PR firm, like fixer kind of company for Fortune 500s. And they're spin doctors, as Sherlock says. So they go to talk to...
They gotta perfume her dingle in spinning.
They have a pocket full of kryptonite. The Spin Doctors is a band.
Gotcha.
And the owner is Heather Van Owen, and she employs two princes.
I know two princes.
Another Spin Doctors song.
Oh, I know that song.
Oh, Your Majesty.
You know that part? Give me flowers. I like daisies and tulips. Roses. Mums and other flowers. I don't know the names of.
And this one. Now we've got three princes. That's okay now. We're gonna get a copyright strike for how well we copied that song just now.
Whoopsies. Good thing we can get 3 more before we're out.
Well, if you get 1, you can only get 2 more.
It's different.
Oh, okay.
Podcasting strikes are different.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
So they talked to Heather Van Owen, who owns the Van Owen Industries Communications, whatever. And it is a familiar face.
Dr. Cuddy.
Familiar face. Dr. Cuddy from
House MD.
Mm-hmm. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was just called House.
Well, I think
The guy is House MD.
Yeah, it might just be House.
Anyway, so...
Took me the longest freaking time. I watched House all the time as a kid, and I didn't get it for a very long time that it was Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, they do that on purpose. Like Wilson.
Yeah, Wilson, Watson, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Holmes, House.
They keep the part where he's an opiate addict, though. Or a drug addict. Yeah.
Vicodin.
Mm-hmm.
But he's got a leg thing, so it's fine.
Uh-huh. No,
don't.
That's why he got hooked on it. That doesn't. He doesn't still need it for that.
No, it's fine. No, drug companies are great, and they don't overprescribe opium at all, especially not in rural communities.
Yeah,
but that's fine.
So it's good. Anyway, so Dr. Cuddy is in this one as well. I wonder if she's in any other Sherlock Holmes properties, like his lake house.
I almost said like his brownstone.
Yeah. Not in this episode. She's not.
She tries.
So Sherlock is like, hello, I'm Sherlock. I'm a consultant for the police. And this is Joan Watson. She's my consultant.
/ housekeep.
And so the reason, this is where they explain the reason that the pager didn't go off, or the bomb didn't go off until now, which is that the pager had no reception in the vent. But a couple weeks ago, they added a new...
Well, a couple years ago, but yeah.
A couple years ago, okay. They added another cell tower, so now it has reception. And nobody had called that wrong number until now.
Right. I guess it's not something you would think about, but at the same time, I'm like, man, if you're going to go through all the trouble of making a bomb, at least make sure the detonator has reception.
Well, how do you check that the detonator has reception until you're trying to set it off?
Try fucking paging it when it's not attached to a bomb.
That wouldn't be suspicious? That you're like, oh, I'm just testing out my pager's reception.
When people are walking around, everyone has pagers. You can just,
The olden days of 2008 when everyone had a pager?
Dude, if someone walked by a building and just like had a phone in their hand and a pager in their other and they just called to see if it worked, people would just be like, huh. And no one would give it a second thought. That's
a good point.
I know. That's why I'm making it.
But maybe the reception was bad inside of the vent until they added the special extra hardy-duty cell phone tower.
But also, maybe it's not something you think about when you build bombs. Maybe it's only something I'm thinking about because I saw this episode.
Yeah. So if we ever build bombs in the future, we'll know.
Yeah.
Not to do that because people die from bombs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Cuddy is like, I think I know who might want to blow us up. It's the ELM, which ELM spells ELM. It stands for the Earth Liberty Militia. So like Earth-based kind of tree huggers.
My guess is that the writer of this episode intended for it to spell ELM. Mm-hmm. And the director was just like, no, ELM sounds more like a terrorist organization, so say that.
Yeah. Waste of a good acronym.
Yeah.
Because they do call it ELM the rest of the time. And so they're like, well, we do clean up mishaps like oil spills. So maybe the ELM finally carried through on their threats to us and bombed us. Then Sherlock says, okay, thank you. Effluvium, Fuss Bucket, Cairo are the 3 answers to 3 of your crosswords. You're welcome. Very weird sign off.
Yeah. He just loves showing off.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, you're doing crosswords on your computer? Well, let me take all the fun out of that and just give you all the answers.
He's like, the side character dies at the end, so...
Yeah.
You're welcome. You don't have to watch that movie anymore.
It's like walking by a kid in the park and just like finishing his jigsaw for him. Like, oh, sorry, were you working on that? Yeah.
I feel like that is something he would do if he cared enough to pay attention to kids. So now they're at an A meeting, Joan and Watson.
Well as Sherlock and Holmes.
I do that a lot. So Sherlock is reading evidence, the threats that ELM had sent Van Owen because he doesn't respect the process of Narcanonymous at all. So, what?
Just sounds like a fucking AA meeting for criminals that are narcs. A narc is an undercover cop, not a CI.
Yeah.
But still.
I just couldn't stop tattling. Yeah, I meant Narcotics Anonymous.
I know.
Narcanon is part of Scientology. Do not go to Narcanon.
Narcanon does, however, cure coronavirus.
No.
Just kidding.
Doesn't.
But all EMTs and police officers should carry Narcan.
Yeah. And colloidal silver will turn you blue if you drink too much of it.
And I like narwhals.
All right. So now that we've gotten that entire, the whole gamut of that conversation, Joan is like, come on, you should be paying attention. We need to find you a new sponsor. And Sherlock's like, I don't think any of these are my people. Then this guy comes up and he's like, hello, I'm Alfredo. I started boosting cars when I was 14, and I'm really good at boosting cars.
When I was a kid, I would boost seats, and then I moved on to cars.
Kids don't boost their own seats. Kids don't boost their own seats. Alfredo did.
He did.
Yeah.
He's self-sufficient.
Just so you know. So Sherlock is like, him. He has to be my sponsor. John is like, okay. So then they're back at the brownstone, and Sherlock has found that the phrase "on your beam ends" is in these ELM threats 3 times. And he also, based on the way that they talk, he thinks that all of the ELM threats were sent by the same person. Like, maybe it's not even an organization, maybe it's just one guy.
Yeah, just signing it with a bunch of different names. Mm-hmm. So it's some letters, he dots his I's with a heart.
Right. That's like how when I sign off corporate emails and I'm like, we will look into this right away. And it's like, it's just me, but whatever. So Jonah's like, why do you want Alfredo to be your sponsor? I mean, you saw him for like 15 seconds. You talked to Adrian and you didn't want him. And Sherlock is like, well, I can see everything. So
I know all.
Yeah. Don't worry about my judgment. And it's definitely not just because he seems like he wouldn't be a good sponsor and he doesn't want Joan to approve of his new sponsor.
Yeah.
It's definitely not. It's because he thinks Alfredo would be great.
Yeah.
So then he realizes, on your beam ends, this phrase that has appeared in the ELM threats 3 times. He's like, I've heard that somewhere else. Where was it? And he goes up, he's like, the memory game. So he runs upstairs and he's like pointing at the different screens to try and remember what's on the other screens so that he can remember what was on the beam ends screen. And he's like, Viagra commercial, toothpaste commercial, cookbook, woman.
Funny little yellow sponge man.
Yeah, he says yellow cartoon sponge man. I love it. Then he realizes that it's a whaling laws discussion on some news thing.
Yeah, some talk show thing.
Yeah.
And so he Googles international whale laws, and of course the video of the talk show
from a couple weeks ago
is the first result.
Yeah. And so they go to that guy. Well, they bring that guy into the station and they're talking to him. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't do any bombs. And Sherlock is like, we stole the elevator button off the elevator that has your print on it. So, gotcha. Because it matches a print that was on a lumber mill bomb. A bomb at a lumber mill.
Dang.
Which did they have to close off the elevator after they took off the button?
Well, I pictured Sherlock just like standing in the elevator, just like waiting for this guy to come in. And as soon as he did, he like presses the button, he gets off the elevator, and Sherlock just like pulls out a Phillips head screwdriver. No, would it be a flathead screwdriver, and just like pries the button off.
Yeah.
It's like, this is mine.
And they're like, so that elevator's closed for the next 2 weeks while we get a replacement button sent in. Sherlock won't give it back. Actually, the buttons in the elevator at my work got replaced with self-sanitizing buttons. Micro san.
Huh? I do deliveries, and the place there, all of the doors have like a strip of that on the handle. So like you can grab it there, and it's supposed to be self-sanitizing.
Yeah. I don't know how that works at all.
I don't know. Magic.
Yeah. So the guy's like, okay, yes, I did bomb that lumber mill.
And I bombed the 11 other places. But this bomb that killed people, that totally was not me.
Mm-hmm. Marcus is like, wow, suspicious. Of course you don't take credit for that one. And he's like, no, really, I threatened a lot of people that I didn't bomb. So...
he was like, no, I was busy.
Yeah. So Sherlock believes him, I think. Later that night, they're at the brownstone, and Sherlock is on the roof tossing exploding tennis balls, because he's got some little tennis balls that he's got a little cartoonish looking fuse sticking out of that he like lights, and then he tosses a couple feet away, and it like... Because...
Imagine being this guy's neighbor. Also, he's on the roof throwing bombs. Where did he move his bees to?
This is the other side of the roof. His bees would probably still be freaking out, though.
Yeah. He's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. It's 4th of July all over again. So he's like, the bomb techs couldn't figure out what this bomb was made out of, so I'm using different mixtures of stuff in these tennis balls to see if I can replicate the odor. And apparently he does it.
Yeah, I'm good at smelling stuff.
He smells it. So he finds it, and he's like, this one was made out of, like, bleach and potassium...
Jelly.
Jelly and,
peanut butter.
No.
That's how you stick the components of the bomb together?
No.
Okay.
That's how you stick the components of your bomb together.
Yeah, well, see, it's nice because when my bombs go off, it smells like roasted peanuts. Tasty.
And you use granola instead of packing paper.
A little snack.
For an extra little treat. So he's like, this is all these like man-made chemicals and like they're bad for the environment and stuff. And Ed Knowles being the ELM guy, only used fertilizer. And his bombs smelled like shit when they went off. Because, of course they did. The ELM guy used dirty bombs.
Hey.
Because it's cow manure.
Yeah.
So the captain is like, okay, so you think it's not him? You think it's not this guy that did a bunch of other bombings and admitted to it?
And he obviously had beef with those people.
Sherlock is like, no, it wasn't him. Plus, on the newspaper, there was this little indentation of somebody writing something on a different piece of paper on top of the newspaper, and the handwriting doesn't match Ed Knowles's. And the captain is like, that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, maybe he had a partner.
Mm-hmm. And also, like, maybe he took that newspaper from someone else who had written on it. But that's not ever entertained as a possibility.
No.
And the newspaper strip says Novocaine, is what the indentation says. Just the word Novocaine. Sherlock's like, that's very random, but Sherlock wants to look at the personnel files of Van Owen Industries, because he's like, maybe they're trying to frame ELM.
Right, because the Elm threats were never made public.
So the only people that knew about it were the police or people that worked at whatever court.
Van Owen.
Yeah.
So Captain is like, nope, you don't get a subpoena for that. You're gonna have to talk to the Van Owen people yourself. And he does, and he gets the files with no issue. He's just looking through them.
Yeah.
Cuddy is like, hello.
How you doing?
So you'd like to look at the personnel files? Are you finding anything? I can tell you're a fellow addict. And he's like, what? She's like, of crosswords. I was fine and when there was just one in the newspaper per day, but then once they put their archives of the last 50 years online, I was lost cause.
It's all I do. All I see are puzzles.
The crosswords consume me.
Everything's connected.
It's it's hard for any other words to cross her mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Sherlock is like, you want some fuck? Is that what's happening?
He's like, oh, do you want to come across here and go down?
He literally says, "You want sex?"
Yeah.
And she's like, "What?" And he's like, "You're flirting with me. I can tell. Fine. We can have sex, but I'm busy right now." And then Joan comes in. Oh, we forgot to mention, Joan and Alfonso had met up in the cafe.
Well, all three of them were supposed to meet up, but Sherlock never showed. Yeah, and it was nice. Joan was obviously kind of embarrassed and apologetic to Alfredo, like, he's not showing up. I'm really sorry. And Alfredo was just like, it's cool.
This is part of it.
Yeah, you gotta be patient with him. He's new to this. You can't expect everyone to treat the process with the utmost respect, and if they haven't gone through it and haven't seen how it works. And John's like, "Damn, you're a really good sponsor. I thought you never been a sponsor before." And Alfred's just like, "Nah, I just had a really good sponsor."
Yeah, he's like, "I've been wanting to sponsor somebody for a while, but nobody's picked me. Probably because I'm quiet."
Probably because people hate Alfredo sauce.
Do you think so? I think he was saying because I'm quiet as a joke. Do you think it was the car boosting or the fact that he's black?
Yeah.
And he wears like a flat brim hat and like.
Yeah. It's I couldn't tell exactly what he was talking about, but it seems like his because even Sherlock picked him because he thought that Watson would not accept that because just the way Alfredo looks and dresses, his past life.
His past. Yeah. Not that, I don't think that there's anything wrong with him being black and wearing flat brim hat. Did it sound like that?
No.
Okay.
I think we're both in agreement that the wrongdoing Alfredo does was stealing all those cars.
And even then,
which also,
kind of cool.
Rent and taxes is more theft than
yes, exactly.
Grand Theft Auto.
And if you think about it, if you're stealing a really expensive car,
you can afford it.
It's kind of a victimless crime because the only person getting hurt is a rich person.
Get over it, rich people.
Like, wah. Sucks to be you. Except it doesn't. So Joan is like, by the way, Alfredo says he's down to still meet up. We've rescheduled. We're going to meet up. And Sherlock says, he doesn't say anything. He just leaves. And he goes to talk about somebody that he found that he thinks is kind of suspicious, that he found in the HR records, which is Pradeep Singh, who had an argument with one of the bosses and then promptly disappeared.
Never to be heard from again.
Yep. That one of the other guy is like, yeah, he got arrogant. When he asked for his 4th raise in 18 months, we gave him the boot, which is a golden encrusted boot that they reward people who have gotten 4 or more promotions.
Yeah. Congratulations on being ambitious.
Just kidding. His contract expired and they were like, goodbye. So Sherlock and Joan go to talk to his wife. And she's like, yeah, he's not disappeared. He's definitely dead.
He's 100% dead. He's been missing, quote unquote, missing for years. If he had just had a heart attack or something on the side of the road, they would have found him. They haven't found him.
If he had a stroke in the park.
He's dead. He's definitely 6 feet Pradeep.
You don't know how tall he was. She's convinced that he's gone. He's passed on, which I thought so she murdered him. She knows he's dead because she murdered him. But spoiler, no. So Sherlock is looking at a photo in the room that they're in, where the photo was taken in the same room.
Which, thank God, all of these crime scenes have photos of what the room used to look like.
I know, right?
It's very convenient.
Yeah. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna every year take a photo of a room and put it up in the room.
Yeah, just our apartment will be Inception photos.
Yeah. So anyway, he notices some stuff. The pictures are in a different spot. They're not exactly the same in the photo as they are in real life. He's like, so somebody plastered over this wall. Well, so he's like, why don't we go to the yard? But not me, because I have to poo-poo. I have diarrhea, so I'm gonna just do that instead. But you guys leave the house.
Yeah, which is classic Sherlock Holmes trick of, I'm gonna go find a Russian sex worker chained up in your basement.
Yep. Yeah, he asks to use the bathroom a lot and just wanders the house every time.
When are these people going to learn Sherlock doesn't pee?
Yeah. He has to get into the mind of a killer, so he doesn't pee.
Killers don't pee.
Because killers don't pee. And detectives, good detectives, only pee at home. So yeah, so the wife, the widow, and Joan are out in the yard, and Sherlock is like, okay, Joan, we gotta, so Pradeep is dead, and,
he pulls Joan away from the woman. Mm-hmm. they walk like arm in arm across the backyard. Mm-hmm. He's like, yeah, he's dead.
Yeah, he's definitely dead.
He's totally dead.
The reason that there's mold in that wall is because of the change in temperature of the insulation and the something condensation.
Yeah, the killer had to remove insulation to put the body in, and the body was in a plastic bag, and that's been decomposing, and so the bag is expanding, which is why there was a kind of a bulge. I was going to say the opposite of a dent in the wall.
There was a Ned.
And Joan's like, "Are you sure? Are you positive?" And Sherlock's like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure."
He says, "I'm fairly sure."
And so it cuts to inside where he's torn away the wall.
Yeah.
And sure enough, there's a mummy wrapped in plastic.
Yep. So they go to the, is police office a term? Police station.
Yeah.
Police station. So they're at the police station, and Detective Bell is like, yeah, so that was Pradeep in the wall, and the ME says he was shot in the chest and then underwent pervasive mummification, aka he was wrapped in a sheet. And they're looking at this old picture of Pradeep of his desk, and in the picture of him at his desk is the vent. So his desk is like right there.
Oh, dang.
Like, if that bomb had gone off, he would have died from it.
It's almost like he was the intended target.
Mm-hmm. Like, he was at his desk every day until he left. So there was never a time where he was like, I'm gonna casually walk over here, not where my desk is. Gotta place a page.
Right.
So he was definitely the intended target. And the ME found a key on the body that it's not a car key, but it looks like kind of like a car key. And Sherlock is like, oh, this is a safety deposit box key. And he takes the little cap off the key and it says SLB. And Captain is like, oh, this is the Saucy Lizard Bank key. Which, like, I do like that they have, like, the other detectives, like, piece stuff together sometimes, because it's like, you don't have to be a super genius to, like, know what SLB might stand for.
Right. Safety deposit, and so it's a bank.
Yeah.
There's only 7,000 banks in New York City.
Right. It's like...
Police captains know all of them.
Right. Well, I mean, we all know the Studley Langdon Bank, where everyone who works there is named Langdon, and they're real studs. Because the captain has his own safety deposit box at Suck Long Venus. No, because then you can't say bank after that. So not that one, but any of the other ones.
This is Sucky Little Bank. I have no faith in them.
We only have room for $15, so if you have more than that, you gotta hold it yourself. Sour Lemonade Bank. And so they go to Studley Langdon Bank, and they open the safety deposit box, and there is a Cheech and Chong movie in there.
Samuel L. Bank.
Samuel Bank. And so, so there's a Cheech and Chong DVD in there. I mean, VHS in there. And Bella's like, I mean, that movie was bad, but it didn't make me want to kill anybody. It's just like, are they just like goofing around once they get there? Like, there's no way that they actually see this and are like, oh, it's probably just the movie.
Someone has a lot of sentimental value.
Yeah.
Cheech and Chong.
Yeah. Like, no, obviously it's not really that. And I thought it was going to be like a fake box.
Yeah.
Because VCRs are like
old
boxes.
Like, what are you, 45?
Yeah, practically in the grave at that point. You've got 1 foot Pradeep. Nah, it doesn't. I don't know that that makes sense. But anyway, so Sherlock is like, no. See, there's this piece of Scotch tape over this one little tab on the VCR, it's so that you can record over it.
Yeah.
You can record your own video. So this isn't actually Cheech and Chong's next movie.
Something else is on this.
It's Cheech and Chong's first movie.
That'd be weird. You go to watch Aladdin, and then you play it, and it turns out it's actually Return of Jafar. Like, why would someone tape over Aladdin for Aladdin 2? It doesn't even make any sense. Also, if you're gonna tape an Aladdin sequel, at least do Prince of Thieves.
This is a fake hypothetical that you've made up. Are you getting upset about it?
Well, yeah, because Return of Jafar just wasn't good.
But Prince of Thieves was fantastic. You meet Aladdin's dad.
Is Gilbert Gottfried in it?
I think so. Robert Williams is not. Robin Williams was not happy with Disney after Aladdin.
Why not?
He was not paid enough for the part the genie wound up being in Aladdin.
Was he originally supposed to be like a small part?
He was supposed to be a small part, and then he does the Robin Williams thing, and the genie was like the main source of merchandising and advertising, and Williams didn't get the proper share of that.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
How much Disney stuff do you know?
A decent amount. Random tidbits here and there.
You know, the fact that you know so much about Disney is really sexy. It makes me want to steamboat your Willy.
Okay, thank you for coming. Goodbye.
It's not.
Oh.
It's not. It was a joke.
So we gotta finish this podcast?
Yeah, we gotta finish the episode. Go
Fine. Okay, what happens?
So anyway, they're like, oh, great, we have a VHS to watch. How are we going to get a VCR?
How are we going to find one in 2012?
2012. And Sherlock is like, have you met me?
He goes, have you been to my house? Which I think is a great way to introduce the fact that all of this has just been an elaborate way for Sherlock to get Belle to come over for a play date.
Aw, it's true. So they're at the Brownstone, and Sherlock is like, I like to watch 70s and 80s interviews because they're more raw, but you do learn something sometimes. And it's like,
yeah, sometimes they would force children to confess to crimes.
Yeah, maybe not the greatest. So Marcus steps out of the room because he gets a call from a CI about something unspecified. And Joan takes the moment to talk to Sherlock. And she's like, look, Alfredo is good to go to be your sponsor. He's great. You should be his sponsee. And Sherlock is like, the spark is gone. And Joan is like, you mean I approve of him now, so you don't want him to be your sponsor.
You mean you're a giant baby, Sherlock?
Yeah. And Sherlock is like, I'm a regular size person. I'm a human adult. I'm an adult man, regular size.
He's tall.
He's kind of... Anyway, Joan is like, maybe are you trying to not get a sponsor because I'm getting you a sponsor so I can leave and you don't want me to leave, even if you don't like me being here? Mm-hmm. You like, one way or another, kind of don't want our relationship to end? It's
happened before with other sober companion or not sober companion. I don't know. Clients, I guess.
Yeah.
Where, they're kind of get like separation anxiety. Mm-hmm. And they're worried about that's a big change.
Mm-hmm. I remember my first day of kindergarten. My first day of being dropped off at daycare after kindergarten, I think. And I was like, don't leave me here, Dad. And he's like, it's going to be fun. And I just remember being like, oh. Yeah. I remember that really vividly. I was probably like 5.
Yeah.
Which is wild. Anyway, I also remember one time at that daycare, people, like, the older kids were talking about, strange food combinations that they like. Mm-hmm. Or I think that's what they were talking, like, that's what I thought they were talking about as an 8-year-old. In hindsight, maybe they were talking about, like, spicy things or something. But I was like, sometimes I like to eat macaronis with milk. Like, take a sip of milk and eat a macaroni.
Wow, you're super adventurous.
They all just looked at me. Like I was super weird. Because I was a weird little kid saying I like to eat plain macaroni and milk. Mix them up in my mouth. I've always been smooth.
You've always been a bit of a chef, too, apparently.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. So, they finally get the VCR working, and they see that it's Pradeep, and he's recording himself in a hotel room. He's meeting up with a woman, and they're like, oh, a sex worker. Because she's like, oh, it's great, we finally got to have our date, baby. Like, very, like, generic kind of sex worker talk. Not that I don't know, maybe they don't talk like that anymore, but,
It's the stereotypical hidden camera.
We're in a hotel room, and I'm...
TV show, this is a sex worker dialogue.
Yeah, exactly. So, she's, like, kissing him or whatever, and then she's like, oh, will you help me get out of this dress? And she turns around and fully faces the camera.
It's Dr. Cuddy!
It's Dr. Cuddy! And then they watch it for a little bit longer so you can see Cuddy's butt. And Sherlock is like, we can pause now. I think we all get the gist of what's happening.
We were watching it, and you go, do we have to watch more? And then Sherlock's like, we don't have to watch more.
Yeah. Yeah. And so they're like, okay, well, time to do a parlor room reveal to Cuddy. So they do. So they have Cuddy fill out a consent form to be talked to by the police. And then they show her the tape, and they're like, Pradeep must have recognized that you were this woman one of the women that he secretly taped when he was a youngin'. And he turned the screw, and Joan goes, so to speak. And like Captain like looks at her like, you didn't need to add that. So stupid. And you know, he's using it to he was using it to blackmail you into promoting him and stuff. And Sherlock takes the time to be like, I personally think that prostitution should be legal and it's totally fine and good. So, but you know, other people don't feel that way. It's just like, thank you, Sherlock. Do you think that was the show saying, like, sex work should be legal? Or do you think that was the show being like, look how edgy Sherlock is?
So I think we also have to keep in mind that the show was 8 years ago. So I think, like, even earlier, like, yes, now, you know, I can see a guy with a hat that doesn't have a bend in it and baggy pants and not be like, oh, that's a troublemaker. But that's clearly the intent of this show. That's what it was going for. And I think here it was definitely look at Sherlock. He's so edgy but I'm watching it now like, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, exactly. So he's like, you know, this would have hurting your reputation. And Cuddy is like, you have no proof. And Sherlock is like, well, you wrote Novocaine on the newspaper and it matches your handwriting because it was part of the crossword puzzle. And they checked, and Novocaine was one of the words used in a crossword on the date that the bomb was made, which they were able to look up because they had put the last 50 years of crosswords online.
Archived! Enemy's pain. No, the pain of enemy. The enemy of pain. Yeah.
Pain's enemy.
Pain's.
Yes. Archive of our crossword. AO2C. It's like AO3.
I don't know what you're talking about.
No, that's fine. There's a fan fiction website called Archive of Our.
Okay, you say AOC, and I think
the person.
Yeah.
Well, because I changed
legend.
I changed it to crossword. Anyway, they arrest her. We got her.
We got him.
Got her.
You're going to jail.
Oh, and so to finish this out, she put the bomb in the vent to kill Pradeep because he was blackmailing her, and when that didn't work, she shot him and hit him in the wall.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think we mentioned. We know that it wasn't the wife because she was out of town at the time. Which they were like, that's the perfect cover to hide him in his own house. Boom.
Plenty of time to tear down a wall, hide a body, and then build the wall back up. And then incorrectly place the pictures 12 centimeters apart instead of 18.
Sloppy.
You fucking amateur.
So,
listen, real quick. All I'm going to say is if you want to hide a body in a wall, take a picture of the wall beforehand.
She probably did. That's why all of the pictures are in the exact same configuration.
Well, take a better picture. Take measurements. Just do the work. If you're going to go through all the trouble, it's the same thing. If you're going to go through all the trouble of making a bomb, you're not going to use a 4-year-old battery. If you're going to go through all the trouble of murdering someone and stashing them in the wall, put the pictures back right.
She did. They're just in the wrong... Anyway.
When I say right, I...
You mean exactly the same?
Yes.
Not 4 inches closer together.
Right. That's not putting them back right.
Except that the wife never noticed.
Okay, but Sherlock did.
Yeah, well, Sherlock is a freak.
Well...
That's why she got away with it for 4 years.
Well, I want some character development, so gimme.
The episode is over now. I mean, not the episode. The crime solving is over. And now they're at the brownstone. And Alfredo shows up at the front door. And Sherlock is wearing like a Bert and Ernie shirt. Like whichever one wears horizontal stripes, I think that's Ernie. He's wearing one of those and a black vest.
And a vest.
Yeah. It's a very cozy look. I like this t-shirt. The pale yellow one looked really weird. But this one is like kind of gray, sort of almost sweaterish, but it's a t-shirt. One of those t-shirts that you find in like a thrift store that is just like thick. And you know it's like from the 90s, you know?
Yeah.
I love those. We need those back. No more cheap t-shirts. Looking at you, Target. So Alfredo is here, and he's like, wow, I got your text breaking up with me on my way here. And Sherlock is like, yeah, sorry about that, but, you know, you can't be my sponsor, and the spark is gone. And Alfredo was like, well, listen, I have this really expensive car with this security system that hasn't even gone to market yet.
And I hear you, like, picking locks.
So do you want to join me with that, maybe?
You want to try to break into this car with me?
And Sherlock
because it's my job, because that's what I do now after
right.
After I got out of jail. the car companies were like, hey, this guy's really good at doing this, maybe we can pay him to break into our car so we can make our security better.
It's like the show White Collar, but instead of fraud, it's breaking into cars.
Yeah.
So, no, it's not, but it sort of is.
Okay.
Anyway, Sherlock is like, oh, Joan, you're sneaky. You think you, just because you find a common interest, I'm going to like Alfredo. Joan is like,
yeah, go play with your friend.
She's like, I promise you that you're going to be ready by the time I leave. So, and he goes, well, I'm self-sufficient, so I don't need your help. Just so you know. And just because I'm going to play with him doesn't mean that he's going to be my sponsor.
Like, I'm a big boy, and I'm going to go play with my friend because I want to play with my friend, not because you're making me.
Yeah. And Joan is like, of course you are.
Okay, sweetie.
And Sherlock goes out to the car and he's like talking to Alfredo about the security system and everything. And he's like, so is it aftermarket something, or is it this, blah, blah. And Alfredo's like, I'm not telling you. You got to look at it. You got to figure it out yourself. And Sherlock is like, all right, I will. I'm self-sufficient, you know. It's just so cute. He's just like a little kid. I don't need anybody's help. And Joan made a good point earlier in the episode where she was like, yeah, you didn't need help from anyone. You didn't need rehab. You didn't need a sober companion. You don't need anything. But like, we don't know that because he didn't become sober without rehab and without a sober companion.
Right.
Like, he hasn't had an issue yet where he's really needed Joan to like intervene as a sober companion. But like, we don't know if he would have been able to do it without rehab.
Yeah.
And she does. She is very useful to him as a sober companion, I think.
Yeah. You know what we're seeing right now?
What?
Sherlock's ego.
It's true.
That's it. He can't admit that he needs help.
Mm-hmm. Because he doesn't. Because he's self-sufficient.
He's big smart man.
He's a big smart boy. He pulls his pants up himself. He knows how to wipe his butt. So he does.
I know how to do it. Just because I don't doesn't mean I don't know how.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to imply.
I know how to do it.
You know how to do it.
Use both hands.
For what's the other one for?
It's the same thing.
You just hold the paper with both hands? It's more thorough that way.
Mm-hmm. And it helps my balance.
Because you're standing up while you do it?
Yeah. You don't?
So anyway, that's the episode.
We did it.
So, we do not have any questions today from our Twitter, but if you'd like to find us on Twitter, we are LMNOPcast on Twitter. And I personally am Val Flight Cub B. The second B stands for
Bomb.com.
Bomb.com. And you are
the real Alec Fark, not to be confused with the fake Alec Fark, or the second Alec Fark, or the imaginary Alec Fark.
And your Twitter is the real Alec Fark?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Is there the real Alec Fark too?
I don't think so.
Well, better safe than sorry. If there is one, you're not it.
Nope. No numbers, no nonsense.
Mm-mm. Oh, we have a Discord. Join our Discord. Shout out to Noah Geist at Owl Dude on Twitter for our intro song, and Summer Geist at Stellar Ghost on Twitter for our pod art. And shout out to you, listeners like you, for listening. Till next time, this marble will keep on rolling.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. We're self-sufficient.